Whakalovlayatu and welcome to our BCN News Bulletin for tonight. Leading our top stories, the Niue Health Department has begun administering its pediatric Pfizer vaccinations for children aged 5 to 11 years old, which began this week Tuesday. More than 200 children are eligible to receive their vaccinations. Some parents have consented their children to receive the vaccine, but others are still concerned about the effects. Here's more on that story. At the Niuefo Hospital, parents have taken their children to receive their first dose of the pediatric Pfizer vaccine. There are a total of 222 children on the island who are aged between 5 and 11 years old, 178 children from the Niue Primary School, and 44 students who are near 7 at Niue High School. BCN News spoke to the head of public health, Griselda Mokoia, to tell us more about the vaccination for the children, which began this week Tuesday. The program will combine the children's health check and the vaccination.
The school screening that we usually do in the school, we will do together with the vaccination while we have the kids with us in that age group. So when they arrive with the consent form with their parents, we'll do the screening first, also have a look at the oral health, and then the last station would be the actual vaccination. And then the kids will be required to wait for 20 minutes before they're allowed to leave. But we'd also like to encourage the parents at this point, if your child has any side effects at all following the vaccination, please let us know, because we would want to be monitoring them for 2 weeks following the actual vaccination.
Ms. Mokoia said that they are aware of some parents who are concerned about the vaccine and want more information.
The concerns we are getting so far from the parents is that they're not getting enough information to them to give them the option of consenting or not. Yeah? So it's mainly to do with what would happen if the child received the vaccination. Immunocompromised children, they're usually advised to get their vaccinations early so that it gives them a better protection against the infection if and when it gets here. So the idea of vaccinating children is that they also get some sort of protection if we do get COVID on the island. We also like to encourage parents who are double-minded and did not get their booster doses to also come forward and get their booster doses to protect the children as well and the vulnerable groups in our population.
BCN News understands that an interval of 8 weeks is required between the first and second dose for the vaccinations. The Health Department would like to encourage parents who are double-minded and who are yet to receive their booster doses to come forward and receive their booster shots so that they can protect their children and the vulnerable groups in our population. Premier Dalton Tangelangi has appointed member from Lakepa, John Operator Siakia, to be his first member assisting a minister to assist with the Ministry of Infrastructure in a temporary 6-month appointment. Here's Esther Pavihi with more.
In a government press release yesterday afternoon, Premier Dalton Tangelangi announced the appointment of Mr. John Operator Siakia as the member assisting the Minister for Infrastructure. According to the government's release, the appointment is made to expedite the long list of high-priority projects and the backlog workload of the ministry. Mr. John Siakia is no stranger to the legislature, having served previously as the member for Lakepa from 1996 until 2005, after which he was appointed as a commissioner of the Niue Public Service. Prior to his political career, he was an employee of the government's Public Works Department, which has since grown over the years to become the Ministry of Infrastructure. The press release was issued by the Office of the Minister of Infrastructure, Crossley Tatui, who said that the appointment of Mr. Siakia is timely to facilitate communications from Cabinet to the Ministry and vice versa, to avoid undue bottlenecks and delays. In welcoming the new member to assist him, Minister Crossley Tatui, who is also the Minister of Finance, said that the overall goal is to build community confidence in the quality of work and skills provided by the government departments.
The extension to the Environment Department was officially opened yesterday by Minister of Natural Resources, Honourable Mona Ainuu. The extension was provided by the Ridge to Reef project and was funded under the Global Environment Fund and UNDP. The extension was one of the original projects to come under the funding of the Ridge to Reef project in April 2016. to build the space for the project implementation unit. According to the Director General of the Ministry, Dr. Josie Tamate, the project implementation unit was temporarily housed at the Met Office while they continued to look for funding to build a permanent project implementation unit to be housed with the Environment Department.
It is my hope that this space will enhance our capacity and capability to take advantage of the digital age that we are now in, and to use technology to help us to develop policies and a robust decision-making process, especially with respect to looking after our environment and the management of our natural resources. And at this juncture, I would like to really acknowledge all those who contributed to making this the reality.
The Director of Environment, Hayden Talangi, spoke of the challenges of accommodating the increasing number of staff for the department. They started initially with 6 staff members and have since grown to 15 staff members with the potential for more.
Many challenges lay ahead as the COVID pandemic lingers on globally. Supply chain disruptions, travel restrictions, Omicron spreading rapidly. Please be patient, but at the same time, we need to recognize and celebrate our achievements. Unfortunately, our solar energy and computers and furniture and little things have not arrived, but as they say, the show goes on. On behalf of the staff of the Department of Environment, thank you once again. Thank you to all those who have made this learning centre a reality.
The extension of the Department of Environment is funded by the Global Environment Facility, UNDP, through the Ridge to Reef project. According to the Director General of Health and Social Services, Gayleen Tasmania, all passengers in MIQ have left quarantine after returning negative tests for their COVID test yesterday.
In response to questions from BCN News this afternoon, the Director General, Gayleen Tasmania, said that all frontline staff also tested negative. All frontline staff which will continue to be tested for COVID-19 since the testing started on the flight from the 24th of January. The frontline staff will continue to be tested for every passenger flight from now on. It is not clear, though, how many passengers are expected to arrive on next Monday's flight. Meanwhile, in New Zealand today, a record 1,929 people have tested positive for COVID-19. More than 1,300 of those are people in Auckland.
Last Friday, BCN hosted its first series of a media awareness workshop at the Niue Police Conference Room. Heads of government departments, ministries, and boards of state-owned enterprises attended the workshop as it aimed to bring people who make decisions with the reporters and producers of news. The aim of the workshop is to bring together those who make decisions in government with those who report and produce the news. There are 2 key topics. The first is on media and governance, understanding the relationship, and the second topic is about engaging with the media. The series of free workshops started last Friday with the first session for heads of governments and ministries and boards of state-owned enterprises. The workshop facilitator Esther Pavihi put together a list of some high-profile presenters, such as the Pacific correspondent for TV New Zealand, Barbara Drever, former ABC journalist and freelance journalist and trainer Jemima Garrett, Dan McGarry from Vanuatu's Daily Post, and Lisa Williams-Lahari, who is former journalist and currently the Public Affairs Advisor at the Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat. The next workshop will be this Friday for the leaders of non-government organizations, civil societies, and village councils. The final workshop is scheduled for early March for the members of the Whanoi Kepule, Cabinet, Commissioners of the Public Service, and the Secretary to Government. The government's plans to widen the roads to the new Parliament building at the old Halamahanga and Niue Primary School was put on hold after representatives of the landowners and Village Council of Alofi South told the government that they do not consent to demolishing the building.
The spokesperson for the landowners and the village council, Robin Heko, in response to BCN questions, said that there was no consultation with the landowners or the village about these plans to demolish the school building. Mr. Heko says that the government needs to meet with the landowners and the village of Alofi South to come to some understanding because they do not agree to demolish these buildings. He says that these are historic buildings and are part of the history of Alofi South and of Niue. Mr. Heko says that they are also concerned at the lack of understanding of government officials that these part lands are not Crown land and that where there were lease agreements before, those lease agreements have since lapsed and there has been no new agreements set since. BCN News reached out to some government officials who said that they were not aware of the landowners' issues and that they were only acting on the instructions from high authorities. They said that the plan was to demolish 3 classrooms from one of the old school buildings in order to widen the road leading to the new Parliament building. Meanwhile, some landowners who wish to remain anonymous told BCN News that all these issues with this government and the former government are because they were never consulted right from the beginning when the government decided to build the new Parliament building at Halamahaga. They said there was no consultation with the village or the neighbouring landowners. They told BCN News that Halamahaga is unsuitable for a national iconic building like the Whalefono because of such issues as the access.
The record rainfall count has reached 300 millimeters for this month of February. According to the Niue Met Service, these high numbers have already exceeded the count for the entire month of February last year. While the rain is good for growers, it is not good for old buildings and homes with major leaking issues.
Heavy rainfall since the beginning of February has reached a record of more than 300 millimeters and we're still 2 weeks before the end of this month. Rosie Misiapo, the Director of Met Services, told BCN News that this number is significantly high and already higher than the total monthly record in February last year with 256.8 millimeters. The rain affected some old buildings like the Whalefono in Alofi, with major leaking that disrupted the meetings of Cabinet last week when the Australian High Commissioner went to present her credentials. According to the Niue Met Director, the reason for the heavy rainfall is because of the South Pacific Convergence Zone, which has been active in Niue's vicinity since January and this month. A series of active troughs of low-pressure systems with associated cloud and rain caused such heavy downpours. In addition, the current La Nina effect on Niue is known for enhanced rainfall or above normal rainfall.
The competency levels of the Alofi, Tuapa and Avasele teams were astounding as they took out the final placings for the Open Men's and Women's Touch Tournament last Saturday. Hosted at the Tuasia School Grounds in Hakupu, the team that secured victory for the Open Women's Finals went to the Alofi Reds. In second place was Tuapa, and coming in third was Tama'ava 2. For the Open Men's Finals, Tuapa came in as scorching first place, following behind was Tama'ava, and third place went to Alofi Mako 1. A total of 16 teams participated in the tournament, 8 teams for the Open Men's and 8 teams for the Open Women's. Organizer Lindsay Talangi told BCN News that it was great to see more women teams this year, 5 last year to 8 this year. Hoping for good weather again this Saturday, says Ms. Talangi, to host the Open Mixed Touch Tournament at the Niue High School fields. For the mixed tournament, the minimum number of females on the field will return to 3, with the minimum age requirement of 10 years old and over who can participate. Ms. Talangi says that she is looking forward to seeing an increase in numbers of the Open Mixed Tournament. And that is our news bulletin for tonight. I hope you have a good weekend. Until next week. Nono fua, moi monuina.